decided to come to another session, and we are going to be talking about the psychological part of erectile dysfunction today. We're going to be talking about three different areas that typically come up with the inability to have sex due to erectile dysfunction in the area of anxiety disorders, autism spectrum disorder, and also bipolar disorder. The part that I'm very excited about is that the US and across the world are starting to take more and more of a look at mental health. Mental health is a sleeper. You can't see it, you can't feel it. It's one of those things that there's no outside symptoms that cause people to say, oh, there you go, there's a bipolar, there's autistic. No. Right now, we're on the cusp of this. And the more that we talk about it, the better off we're going to be. I have had people in my life and have had people still in my life that have certain mental disorders such as bipolar and depression. They have gotten help, and I'm excited for them. But it means that if we are going to be having these types of medications flowing through our body, we need to understand how they're impacting our sexual desire. We also need to understand that we need to not only have the medication, but we also need to combine a psychotherapy or some other type of therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, in order to be able to make the holistic part of your body work and function better. Now, we do need to have a lot more provision for the mental health. And so let's just jump into it. Let's just say that when we're talking about the psycho part of erectile dysfunction, it typically comes from the medications that individuals are taking, either for mood disorders or for anxiety or for autism or even the bipolar. And what happens is that these side effects cause the erectile dysfunction. So there are different drugs out here that can provide a mediation, a reduction in the symptoms, and not have a sexual dysfunction part to it. So let's just talk about anxiety disorders. They come on really fast, they're difficult to catch, and they have a tendency to get out of control rather rapidly. So the first thing that we've got to understand is that this anxiety, when we talk about it in moderation, not an extreme, when this anxiety comes along, it's caused by us. There are different therapies out here, cognitive behavior, Reiki, that can help calm those down and get you a cure. We have to be able to control our thoughts. We have to be able to control that increase in cortisol. We need to be able to stop the anxiety before it starts. And more importantly, we need to have our radar on so that when a event is about to come up, we're not putting ourselves in that situation. We are managing different situations so that it doesn't come up and trigger us. All right. Now, we realize that being anxious, and we need to be able to change that thought pattern. We're looking at an event such as about petting and some foreplay, and the anxiety starts to come up. Well, we need to reframe that foreplay into something that's positive, that gets us more sexually stimulated, that allows our libido as to send the message down to our genitals in order to be able to get stimulated and have an erection. We need to be able to reverse those thoughts of anxiety. And an example would be that we could use, anchoring, or we can use different distractions in order to be able to get us to reduce that anxiety. So let's talk about autism spectrum disorder. And here's a large part of that is due to autism not being able to interpret nonverbal cues that your partner is ready to have sex or is sexually stimulated or is desiring sex. And that disconnect acts like a dysfunction when it's not really. The person, the male, is still able to be excited sexually. The issue is that there's a breakdown between the libido and the genitals as far as a recognition that, hey, we should be getting sexually excited. We should be very interested in sex. And that is one of the other issues that autism causes individuals not to be that excited about sex or romantic relationships. They go into their repetitive behaviors, and during those repetitive behaviors, they're more focused on that rather than being in a sexual act or having a sexual event or petting or kissing. And there's also a point where some autistic individuals are not available emotionally. They're just not there. And that is going to take some overcoming. Again, that can be done with the medications and also psychotherapy, also Reiki healing and cognitive behavior. And if we are going to be talking about dysfunctions with autism in sexual acts, what happens is that the autistic individual has a tendency to lean towards sadism and bondage and suffering or masochism and bondage. I believe I said that, and suffering. And what we want to do is kind of make that safe for everybody that's acting in that sexual event. So when we talk about the bipolar, what the biggest issue with bipolar is the medications. The medications interfere with the signal that goes down to the genitals to get the blood flow so that there's an erection. And there also needs to be some lifestyle changes. Example would be cutting down on alcohol, increasing the physical exercise, keeping away from the triggers that cause the depression. And what happens is that there's got to be a support system of Reiki healing, relaxation, meditation, mantras, psychotherapy. There's got to be a group of people that when that individual starts to go into a bipolar event, that they can reach out and say, I need help. And what's going to happen then is that they will become more available for a sexual event. Reality with sexual dysfunction is that individuals that have a very high sexual inhibition and a low sexual excitation are really the individuals that are going to develop sexual dysfunctions. So what I want you to do is I want you to comment down below. I want to see whether or not this happens to have struck a chord with you. If you're interested in making some changes in your lifestyle or get Reiki healing or be able to talk about where to get those resources because you're not in the area that I'm in, I'd be glad to talk to you and work with you. Reach out, get some help. That's what it's all about. Taking a little bit of action, one step at a time. And you're going to be amazed that you can overcome this. I look forward to talking to you in part 3. I know that I'm going to have at least part 4, possibly part 5. I look forward to talking to you then.